Lucratif, helping startups stay up. Mill, make sure you're paid up. Make sure you're paid up. Make sure you're paid up. Subscribe podcast. It's cool and corporate. It's corporate.
All week. I actually previously recorded this topic, and I was like, no, I had to redo it because I was like, I have to kind of go deeper into it. But I want to really speak about my background, where I grew up, like how I kind of started my interest in business. And I feel like where I grew up, South London, Brixton, the school I went to, the general influence around what you would see on a day-to-day basis really had an impact on me going into business, the way I would operate, the drive, all of these things actually had a big impact on me. And there was one story I often tell people, and it's interesting, it's funny, but it says a lot. So in the school I went to, Stockwell Park, I was one of those kids that sell Lucasades, chocolates, crisps, sweets. I was one of those kids. There was a few of us, shout out them, they know who they are. I remember there was a time, I don't know if I was in year 10 or 11, so let's say I was either 14 or 15 or 16, I was one of those ages. I think it was year 11, I remember, because I always say this, I'm not proud of it, but I'll say I cared more about selling Lucasades than I did about my GCSEs. We thank God that where I am in life. If you're doing your GCSEs, make sure you focus on it. But yeah, so I remember there was about 3 of us at the time. We were selling Lucasades. I remember at the time, I don't know if they do have them in Iceland, animals. So we'll buy the Lucasades from Iceland, we'll buy the little small animals as well. I think there was like 8 or 10 in a pack. I think they would sell them. I think back then it was either 80p a pack or £1 a pack. We'll sell them either 25p or 20p. And then Lucasade, there was about 8 in a pack. It was £3, and we'll sell them £1 each. So you do the maths, like, you get me. At that age, we were leaving each day, with a good amount of money. Then we came in, and we were using our dinner money to buy it anyway. So it was just like, if we got £3 a day, maybe we would buy. It had to be more than £3 a day, because Lucasade itself cost £3. But however, I can't remember. I'm not sure we saved up my dinner money or something like that. But yeah, so I remember our target would be to sell out before or by our first break. That was like 10:30. It was like, if you haven't sold, you're slacking. And we had no marketing techniques. It was just, back then we just saw it as hustle. Get the stuff out as fast as possible. Sell. So what we would do, we would get to school, like, we would be outside school about 7:45 at these times, like, just trying to get the first people that come. And by the way, when we were selling, the time we were selling, we weren't allowed to be selling in school. So we're selling, but if you get caught, you get excluded. So that's why we wanted to finish selling by first break. So it's like, okay, you get the stuff and you go, like, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know about everybody else, I felt like some big mafia boss at that time. Like, oh my gosh, we're moving the food. We were literally moving food, like literally. We were selling Lucasades and animal. But that's kind of what you grow up seeing, so what you grow up, like, what you end up emulating. So anyway, so we'll get to school super early, and somebody would stand near one bus stop, somebody would stand near another bus stop. Everybody kind of knew you had your spots where you sell. Like, you don't try and take somebody else's customer. But then I remember one day, so there was about 3 of us selling at that time. One day, somebody randomly started selling Lucasades, and the funniest thing is, he started selling it for 50p. He started selling his Lucasades for 50p, so everybody was going to him. So I remember me and the 2 other guys that were selling, ended up going to him like, bro, I can't even remember the guy's name now. We went to him, was like, bro, you better stop selling, like, you know, go to him or putting pressure on him. And just like, yeah, then he ended up not selling anymore, the Lucratifs anymore, and it was just like, yes, we've beat the competition. But back then, we saw that as, well, I saw that as business, if you get what I'm trying to say. And obviously, when I grew up and I started getting into, you know, or understanding business properly and getting into places of business where you kind of know what would run and what wouldn't run, and even getting into normal work where you realize that you can't go to your manager and put it on your manager, and understanding being professional and understanding how to conduct yourself in a business environment, you realize that, okay, what you were doing there, it wasn't business. It was just kind of, okay, you were just doing what you're doing, but it was almost like you're being a product of your environment, you can kind of say. And this brings me to say, the age I am now, I have like some friends who I saw that were doing quite well in business, and I remember sometimes I'll speak to them and they'll say certain things, and I remember one time he said something, I had to kind of question it. He was telling me how he was speaking in slang, but in talking about actual professional business that he does, and he was just like, he used the term I can't even say it properly, I ran off on the plug. And he was basically trying to say that he bumped his supplier. So, and like I said, this is not, he's not doing anything like illegal, he's doing like professional business, but he bumped his supplier. And I sat down and I was just like, I don't get it. Like, you're doing, like, you're doing something, like, you're not doing something illegal. Why would you want to bump your supplier? So he felt happy, but then I had to bring him to the realization that now he has to find a new supplier for products that he's selling. And then he didn't think about that. And I said that, bringing us to this discussion, he always refers to himself as a hustler, not an entrepreneur. And I know the time that we live in now, the word hustler, being a hustler, has such a bad connotation. Like, it's always looked to as a negative thing. But I kind of wanted to discuss, like, me myself, I don't have I don't know where I stand with it, if I say that I see it as a negative thing or a positive thing, but I see it as, it's a lot of people that was their that was kind of their gateway into the world of business. A lot of people's favorite people who you would consider great at business, Jay-Z, I'm just naming musicians, Jay-Z, Dame Dash, even Nipsey Hussle, you would once say they started as hustlers, or they would refer to themselves as hustlers. But what I was just thinking about is, do you go from a hustler into an entrepreneur, or are you always a hustler and not an entrepreneur? When I kind of, okay, let's if we're talking about what is a entrepreneur, this is just a basic definition: a person who sets up a business or businesses taking on financial risks in hopes of profit. So somebody who sets up a business or businesses is an entrepreneur. Now let's see what the definition for hustling is. Now, okay, so the definition I found is, hustling is obtaining something by forceful action. Now I know that, okay, the generation we live in today, words might not mean like certain things. Like you can say I'm hustling, but you might not mean it negatively. You can say I'm an entrepreneur, but you might not mean that positively. But I'm more talking about the attributes that actually go with these things. Like I said, when I was young, selling Lucratif and animals and stuff, I didn't know who Warren Buffett was. I didn't know who I didn't actually know any businessmen there. I always say that I was influenced by my mother who had run a shop, and I was influenced by the environment at the time. I grew up in South London, Brixton. So if you know, you know. But that's what we grew up around seeing every single day. So that's why I learned the drive of getting up early, going and buying stuff and selling. All we knew was buying and selling. It was lucrative at the time, but that's all we knew, and we considered it hustling. Now what I'm doing, I consider myself as an entrepreneur. I consider myself as I'm doing business. That's what I consider myself now. I realize that certain things that we learned that we thought was right at the time, it isn't right now. I can't go into for example, I can't see somebody, let's say another consultancy like Lucratif. I can't see somebody start another consultancy and say, hey, stop that consultancy. Like you're not doing it. I'm the only one doing this consultancy. I'm the only one. We're the only people that are working with startups. Can you imagine? Like, no, you're not working with startups. That doesn't work now. Those are two completely different worlds. But what did there's also positives as well. Like it wasn't watching. Everybody's gone from the top of my head. I'm jumping on Warren Buffett, innit? I didn't watch Warren Buffett for me to know that if you want to make money, you gotta get up early. You get me? The early bird catches the worm. That wasn't from Warren Buffett. That was just, you just see people that you deem are successful, doing something well. You see that they're getting up early, and you just see it as it's a sacrifice you have to take. It's a sacrifice you have to take. But what I really want to speak on is, like I said, my friend, he wasn't able to how do I put this in nice terms? He wasn't able to kind of develop himself, even though he's doing quite well. But certain things, I always look at it as dumb. It's just like, okay, you've just messed up a very good relationship with somebody, so you can skim off a couple of hundred pounds, and you don't know where you're gonna get your next supplier from. It's kind of like operating in bad faith, and I've realized that's a thing that a lot of people do when it comes to business. They operate in bad faith, and I wouldn't say that's a hustler thing. I would say that's somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. That's somebody who doesn't understand that business is a long-term thing. It's not about what is happening now. I realize if you are good entrepreneurs that we look up to now, you really have to be futuristic. You have to think about the long-term goal. Like a lot of the times entrepreneurs do a lot of small goals. They sort out a lot of small goals to get to the long-term goal. They sort out a lot of they do a lot of things little by little so that they can sort out something in the future. Am I making sense? Now, I don't believe that you have to grow up in a certain area. Like where you grew up will define who you are, in the sense that I believe it has an effect on you, but I don't think it defines who you are or who you can be. I think the better way to say it, I don't think it can stop you being great or successful. I really like somebody like Nipsey Hussle, R.I.P. him. I believe that he was a great entrepreneur, and he grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods in America, that had a high gang gang rate, murder rate. It was filled with different kind of gangs. I can imagine the stuff that he would have seen growing up. But what made him different, like if you listen to a Nipsey Hussle interview, like you'll listen to them, and even the person interviewing him, and by the way, I just want to, sorry to kind of digress, somebody said to me the other day, oh, I like that interview thing that you're doing. Please, I'm not an interviewer, please. I don't interview people, okay? I just want to make that clear. Somebody was just like, oh, that interview thing you're doing is good, you know, like, oh, really good interview. I was just like, I don't interview people, please, thank you. But yeah, the people that interview Nipsey Hussle, they get surprised with how clued up he is. And I think that is a key to an entrepreneur, being able to educate yourself. And it's, when I say educate yourself, I'm not talking about going Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, where it's not about that. It's not about the school you went to. It's about purposely or intentionally going out to find information to better yourself. I know a lot of us, the difference between people who haven't made it and who have made it, I believe that it's all intentional. You can have let me say this, I've always said I believe hard work beats talent. I believe that hard work beats talent, because a lot of the times people with talent can get so lazy that, okay, I'm a natural born writer, I'm a natural born footballer, I'm a natural born this, I'm a natural born that, okay. But a lot of the times, if you don't nurture that gift, it's going to stay the same. You can be a natural born salesperson. If you don't practice, educate yourself, add value to yourself, you're somebody who couldn't even, speak eloquently is going to pass you. Like, you hear stories of the greats all the time. Let's go to something like basketball, because I don't know, every time you speak about someone being great and you want to motivate them, you have to go to basketball. So let's talk about somebody like Kobe, LeBron. I don't know basketball players like that. Who else is a basketball player? I was about to say Zidane, Kobe, LeBron, Kobe, LeBron. Those guys, when you hear their stories, when you go on YouTube and you want to hear a motivational video that will gas you up and make you not sleep all night because you think that if you sleep you're not going to make it in life. If you don't know what I'm saying, go back and watch All Nighter or listen to All Nighter on Spotify. When you listen to all of them speak, they talk about all the practice hours they put in. Practicing, taking so many shots, taking so many 3-pointers, all of that, because okay, they might have been a naturally good at a young age, but if they decided, you know what, I'm not going to work hard, and you see, even their teammates will be able to say that, you know what, they worked harder. And being an entrepreneur comes with it as well. You might not know everything at the beginning. You have to learn. You have to make a conscious effort that, you know what, I'm going to better myself. You got to make a conscious effort that you're going to come out of your comfort zone. Sometimes you have to make a conscious effort that you're going to have to unlearn certain things. I remember when in school, they would, my teacher would know, like, I did like a sales and marketing course. I did this thing for HSBC. It was like a Dragon's Den thing. I was good at like business sales. I was interested in that. But it got to a point I had to unlearn certain things, because I realized that those things that I had been holding on to, they're not going to benefit me in a certain place. So I had to unlearn it. And then intentionally learn other things. And those other things, they're not so obvious. You have to, and when I say, I'm not, like I said, I'm not talking about studying business in school, but I'm talking about investing in yourself. Go on courses. I remember I've done courses. I'm not a big reader, but I'll do audio book. It's the whole dyslexia, so I always run away from reading. I know it's not an excuse, but it's like, so I'll rather do audio book. Sometimes, like, I've been around people that, you just hear them talk and it's adding value to yourself. So you know what, you have to really go out there, and sometimes, like I said, it's intentional, it's a decision. Sometimes I get home and it's like, okay, I could jump on Netflix. And by the way, sometimes I feel sorry for Netflix, because Netflix is a business, but every time somebody wants to talk about somebody not being serious, they always refer to Netflix. It's always like, yeah, you should have been doing this, but you were out here just watching Netflix. And Netflix is not really sitting there like, again, like, can you guys just leave us alone? We're just trying to make a living. But yeah, it gets like that sometimes. Yeah, so sometimes I get home, instead of trying to watch Netflix, I have to push myself to go and watch, you know, something informative. Go and watch a tutorial. Go and watch, I don't know, something that is gonna add value to me in the long run. And like I said, when you're a business, when you're a business person, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to always think about the future. Think about the bigger goal. Think about, okay, where do you want to be in the next 5 years? You know, that question sometimes gets so awkward. Somebody asks you, where do you want to be in the next 5 years? And you have to have that in mind, because the little step that you take now is gonna affect your 5 years. You know, one of the quotes that we often put up on Lucratif, like on our social media and all of that kind of those spaces, I like putting it a lot. This particular quote, and it's a year ago you would have wished that you started today. When I first came across that quote, I don't even know how I felt. I kind of just got, whoa. A year ago, you would have wished that you started today. You know how far away a year feels? You know what? When you're thinking about the future always seems so unattainable, so unrealistic, so far away. But if you think about it, especially 2020, I remember January. Like it was yesterday. I was in Shaka Zulu celebrating my sister's birthday, turning up. I was mad. And now we're almost in December. The year's done. So if you're not a person that thinks about the future, 5 years will pass you, and you're gonna sit back and be like, where did it go? You're gonna turn around like, wait, what? 5 years? 5 years? Where did that go? That's how it's gonna be for a lot of us. It's just gonna swoop by us. But somebody who's business minded, you're gonna prepare for it. And part of the preparation, I can't scream it enough, is bettering yourself. So yeah, like I was saying, being like I said, being a hustler or hustling, it has negative connotations, but that is where a lot of people have gotten their roots for business, their drive for business, and they've turned it to a positive thing. And you know what? Shout out to all those people, because I love it when people take something that people might deem as negative and flip it into something positive. And that's what I hope this channel does for a lot of people. You can check your situation, maybe where your background, maybe you've even not had the prettiest background. It wasn't all fairy tales in Disneyland, but right now you're actually pushing to try and flip it into something positive. You can. I'm telling you, you can. You can right now decide to just flip it, and you know what? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not going to come like that, but it is possible. It's been done so much. Why can't you do it? I think I'm going to end. You know, I've realised here, it's the second time it's happened. Every time I'm finishing the podcast, I start getting into preachy mode. You can do it. You got it. I believe in you. If you're listening, somebody say amen. I start going into that mode. It's second nature for me now. I can't subdue it. Is that the word? I can't subdue it. I can't keep it in. So it's just going to be a part of the podcast from now. When I want to get into preacher mode, I'm going to get into preacher mode. If you hear me, somebody shout amen. That was my American accent, by the way. If I wasn't doing it well, that was my American accent. But yes, I was going to say, I hope you enjoyed it. I think when I say stuff like that, that's why people think I'm doing interviews, so I'm just gonna end it. You know where it is, the Make It Lucrative podcast.
Lucratif. Helping startups stay up. Mill. Make sure you're paid up. Make sure you're paid up. Make sure you're paid up. Describe the podcast. It's cool and corporate.